Restaurants are fully open. People are just walking around, out and about. No social distancing whatsoever. People are just hanging out in clumps. This is the food court and it's just filled with people. Like, how is this possible with what's going on in the world? Look at how many cars and bikes are parked. That's how many people there are here. Just really quickly before we move on, I shot this video yesterday before the weekend lockdown was confirmed for Tokyo, so I just wanted to add a little disclaimer that I'm aware of Tokyo's situation currently, but what I say in this video still stands. It was far too late to make this decision, far too short for it to only last a weekend, and no other area in Japan is under lockdown as of yet. Konnichiwa minasan, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Reina Scully, coming to you from Japan, where things have taken quite a turn since my first coronavirus video. So that video was taken on March 2nd and it went up the following day. So it's been about 3 weeks since then and almost everything has changed. I highlighted back then that Japan was in a general state of panic, mainly focusing on the panic buying of toilet paper due to fake news, and I also talked about some shady stuff that companies were doing, like asking their employees to hide it if anybody in their company tested positive for the coronavirus. But overall, it was before the WHO had officially deemed it a pandemic, and it was before cases started exploding in an exponential manner in the US and Europe. So I was also talking about how interesting it was that Japan and Asia seemed to be reacting very intensely to the coronavirus, while Western places were aware of what was happening, but not really too reactive or panicky about it, mainly because it wasn't happening close to home for them. However, now, 3 weeks later, it is an entirely different situation here in Japan, and I have so many qualms with how Japan is behaving that I wanted to show you what it looks like right now. And I also wanted to chat a little bit about what I personally think may or may not be going on as somebody that was raised in the US but now lives back here in Japan. And I just wanted to note that I do live in the countryside, not in the city, so there are definitely some differences because of that. I just wanted you to keep that in mind. Alright, so my first issue, social distancing was never ever implemented here in Japan. We were told that places that draw a crowd like concerts and conventions and things like that were hotbeds for infections, so we were told to stay away from it, and a lot of those types of events were canceled. However, malls, restaurants, public transportation, pretty much all of those businesses are still completely operational. And although a lot of people were allowed to work from home, that is definitely not the majority. People are still physically going to work and commuting. Also, even though schools were asked to shut down nationwide from the beginning of March, a lot of schools still held their graduation ceremonies, which gathered large crowds. So, in my opinion, that completely destroyed the whole point of not having been in school the last few weeks. Now, it's important to remember that Japan hasn't necessarily had an explosion of cases, obviously excluding the Diamond Princess cruise ship, and that probably does have a lot to do with why there hasn't been an immediate need to shut down all non-essential businesses. However, I do believe that we are about to see that unfortunate explosion of cases because we have not been taking any of the aggressive preventative measures that the US and Europe have taken. Let me show you some footage I took yesterday from when I went shopping for some essentials, just to see how careless people have become, especially here in the countryside. I don't know if they've turned a blind eye to this situation or if they maybe truly believe the worst is over for us somehow. Alright, so we are on our way to go buy some essentials like shampoo, body soap, and toilet paper from a rather big store, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you guys how Japan has not implemented social distancing or given the order to close stores or restaurants whatsoever, and people are still going out and about like it's normal, as though the worst has already ended or passed, or like as though we're over the hump, when I really sincerely don't believe that we are. And yeah, I just wanted to show you what it was like over here right now. Since it's raining, why are y'all standing here? Wow. There's like no spots available, that's how busy it is. It's fucking crazy. They're back! Everything's fine! Very weirded out how businesses are completely in full swing. A lot of people aren't even wearing masks anymore, possibly because there are no masks. There's literally none left, and we've all just kind of run out of our own stock. But pretty weird, pretty bizarre, especially considering what's going on worldwide and how almost all of the US has pretty much suggested, at the very least, social distancing. Look at how busy the streets are. It's as though nothing happened and nobody seems to really be affected by it anymore. Hamazushi is a conveyor belt sushi restaurant in our town. It's a chain, but it is so full right now that they're using up their third parking lot space. Unbelievable. It is so bizarre, to the point of freaky, seeing this in comparison to what I'm hearing and seeing of what's happening in the States. Pretty much every single person I know has been working from home or practicing self-isolation. Now, going back to Japan, not having seen a sudden frenzy of cases, I did want to discuss something that a lot of people have considered as the reason for not having giant cluster infections, and it potentially has to do with our general hygiene. Japan is very clean to begin with, to the point of national germophobia. Our public transportation is cleaned thoroughly and daily, and oftentimes more than daily. Our public restrooms are even clean. Restaurants are held at a very high standard for cleanliness. There's virtually no such thing as food poisoning in Japan, and if there were to be a case, the entire restaurant gets completely shut down for good. We're also not a very touchy-feely culture. We don't shake hands to greet each other. We bow. We don't really kiss in public. We don't hug as often as other cultures do. We have very little PDA that goes on, and that falls under our social etiquette. And we've always worn face masks for a multitude of reasons, and I actually did a video on it last year, which you can check out. But wearing face masks was a totally normal part of our lives way before the coronavirus, so perhaps that, coupled with our obsessive cleanliness and our tendency to not really touch each other, really did help to curb the spread of the coronavirus. However, it's not as though we're not invading each other's personal space in places like public transportation, and from what I can tell, trains are still very packed, and it's not like every single person here in Japan practices good hygiene or etiquette. Which is why I can understand how our confirmed cases may be low now, but I really do think the worst is yet to come. I sadly think it's extremely foolish for Japan to think that the whole world is overreacting when we are not immune to this, and it's not like we don't have cases, which means it's only a matter of time until the rate of infection grows exponentially if we keep behaving like everything is back to normal. And I know economically Japan isn't really in the position to handle shutting down all businesses and creating a lockdown situation. Much of the world is not, but they're still doing it, and I wish Japan would do it as well, because then we could at least say we tried our best. I am personally sensitive and frustrated with this situation because I have a lot of elderly people in my family, one of the main reasons why I moved back here to Japan, and I just don't want anything to happen to them because of the cockiness and ignorance of those around us. That got a little serious and sad, so let me try to lighten the mood a little bit. I've actually been experimenting with making DIY face masks since we're all pretty much out of them, and I think I came up with a pretty good tutorial on it, so let me show you how I've been making my own face masks. Alright, so I couldn't find any bobbins for my sewing machine, so I'm at my grandma's place using hers. So you take a thick paper towel, and this is doubled up already, and you take the doubled up portion and you fold it again in half, and then this is a disposable 3D face mask that I often use, but I'm going to use it as a template. And I'm gonna cut it like this. I know it's hard to see because it's white on white, but this is the ear loop side, and this is the side that goes on your nose and mouth. So I think I'm gonna adjust it like this because I need some space for the ear loop. So the side that's folded is gonna be where you loop the little like rubber band for your ears. Ta-da! Oh god, it's so big. Okay, put it, scatti. Okay, so and this is where you're gonna sew, and then this is where you're gonna put the rubber bands through. Is it starting to make sense? This isn't my sewing machine, so it's really hard to use, and there's no pedal. For some reason, it's a friggin' button. Okay, ikuyo. It's so hard when it's not yours. Okay, so you cut this as close to the seam as possible. Jajan! Ta-da! Look, it looks like the mask I was just using, right? And then you put the ear loops here, and then it should work. Amazing! こっちの方が短い、こっちより。Not bad, eh? It could be a little bit more thin, but it's like pretty stuck. Not bad. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be safe out there. Take all of the necessary precautions and be kind to each other. And let me know in the comments section what you think of what's going on in Japan right now, because I am truly, truly baffled and very upset about it. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. そんじゃまたね.